together. I am open and receptive as I receive this message today. Something I am about to hear applies to my life. I am here by divine appointment to receive spiritual tools for personal transformation and to help make the world a better place. My life's purpose is already within me, and I am committed to its unfoldment. As I hear truth today, I am set free, and so are you. Let's grow together. Question: how many of you have been to hell? A few of you. All right. Well, there's a little burg in Michigan called Hell. And when you enter the outskirts of this little town, there's a sign, a destination sign that tells you you are in hell. And during the winter, the locals come by nearly every day and they pour some water on the sign. So there's perpetual icicles hanging from the sign, and people come and get their picture made next to it as proof that hell does sometimes freeze over. One of our more unusual presidents, because he was a man of very few words, was Calvin Coolidge, known as Silent Cal. And before he became president, he was Speaker of the House in the state legislature in Massachusetts. And one day, a couple of the congressmen got into a knockdown, drag-out fight on the floor of the House, and one of them finally screamed at the other one, "Go to hell!" And the other party, very offended, turned to Mr. Coolidge and said, "Mr. Speaker, I demand you do something." And Coolidge said, "About what?" He said, "He told me to go to hell." Coolidge said, "Well, you don't have to go. You don't have to go." There's a billboard on I-75 near Ocala that says in huge letters, "Hell is real." And there's a Bible verse below that, and beneath that there's a toll-free number. Presumably, operators are standing by to talk you out of going to hell. Now, maybe the concept of hellfire was part of your religious upbringing as a child. I can remember my heart pounding as I heard evangelists go into excruciating detail about miserable sinners being eternally punished by fire and brimstone. Now, the word hell does appear in our Bibles, our English Bibles, but it's translated from three different words in the scriptures. There's Hebrew, Sheol, and Greek, Hades. And Sheol and Hades both mean the grave. So in that instance, when you go to hell, what it means is you're dead and buried. The word that Jesus used, which gets translated as hell, was Gehenna. And Gehenna was the dump, the city dump on the outskirts of Jerusalem. People took their refuse and trash there every day. They dumped it in this burning pit, and the fires never were extinguished. There was that much trash going there. And when Jesus said that the lifestyle that we're living is going to lead us to hell, what he really meant was that when we're not living positively, we're just really worthy for the trash heap. So that's about it. So how did we go from the grave and a city dump to a fire and brimstone place of eternal torment for sinners? A place where people who misbehaved on this earth for a few years would be tortured for eternity. Well, people invented the concept. Not God or spirit, people invented it, and other people chose to believe it. And it makes some self-righteous people feel very good that people that they perceive as getting away with something are going to be tortured for eternity. I read a headline once that said, 1 in 5 Americans going to hell, according to 4 in 5 Americans. Well, hell is a negative state of being. It could be anything: a miserable family situation, a lousy job, financial ruin, a debilitating disease, and especially a sense of separation from God. So hell is not someplace out there or down there. Hell is someplace in here. Shakespeare said that hell is empty, and all the devils are here. So many hells, all of our own making. So why do we choose to go? Well, we're very good at coming up with reasons. We can say, I can't help it. Or we can say, I choose to live in hell because that's the way I was raised. Maybe you were told you weren't good enough. Maybe you were held to impossible standards, in which case both you and your parents were in hell. Maybe you were told that people are wicked, the world is corrupt, that people are out to get you, money is bad, and sickness is normal. Maybe you're in hell because you were abused as a child. I can't think of too many things that are more despicable than abusing a child, either psychologically or physically. But as horrible as child abuse is, there is no such thing as permanent psychological damage. To keep revisiting that abuse for years and years and years means that you're guilty of the same abuse as your abuser. The psychologist Viktor Frankl, who was confined to a Nazi concentration camp, wrote in his great book, Man's Search for Meaning, if a prisoner felt that he could no longer endure the realities of camp life, he found a way out in his mental life, an opportunity to dwell in the spiritual domain, one that the guards were unable to destroy. Spiritual life strengthened the prisoner, helped him adapt, and thereby improved his chances of survival. Maybe you're visiting hell because everybody else seems to be. Everyone else seems to already be there. Economic recessions are a kind of group participation hell, and so are epidemics and cynicism and pessimism and judgmentalism. And it sometimes seems easier to go along with the crowd than to affirm the truth. If everyone else is going, I guess I will too. Hey, all my friends are there. Mark Twain said, go to heaven for the climate, go to hell for the company. Remember when Mom said, when you told her everyone's doing it, she said, if everyone jumped off a cliff, would you? Maybe I'm in hell because I'm too thin, too fat, too short, too tall, not smart enough, or too smart. Now, you can be kinder, even if you never become a Mother Teresa. You can be better looking, even if you never become a Brad Pitt or an Angelina Jolie. You can be thinner, even if you never look like a fashion model. You can always be richer, even if you never become a Bill Gates. And yes, you can become smarter, even if you never become an Einstein. Maybe I consigned myself to hell because it's my nature, because I wasn't born with any talent. Well, it turns out that talent is more nurture than nature. Nothing is more common than wasted talent. I can say with 100% certainty that every one of you in this room has talents that you've never developed. You don't need to develop them if you don't want to, but to affirm that I have no talent, don't go there. I ran across this week, 10 keys to success that don't require any talent. Number 1, being prepared. Number 2, being on time. Number 3, a good work ethic. Number 4, self-discipline. Number 5, being consistent. Number 6, being coachable. Number 7, positive energy. Number 8, great attitude. Number 9, passion. Number 10, doing a little extra. None of those require any talent, and yet if you were to apply them all, you couldn't help but be successful. Maybe I'm in hell because I don't have enough brains. Well, there are plenty of C students who are running successful businesses, and there are plenty of A students working for those C students. Maybe I'm in hell because I'm a weakling. I don't have much physical strength. Well, physical strength, of course, is developed If you confine the world's strongest person to a bed for weeks, see what happens. But affirming that you have no physical strength can get you out of doing a lot of work. I once knew a guy who was tickled pink that he got diagnosed with a bad back because he never had to help his neighbors move their sofas. Maybe I'm in hell because I lack this or that specific ability. My brother, Ron, has a PhD in mathematics. He writes high school and college mathematics textbooks. He travels the country doing seminars on how to teach mathematics effectively. I always tell people that he got my share of the math gene. I don't like math and I don't want to do it, so saying I don't have the math gene is just an excuse. Speaking of excuses, you ever get into an argument with somebody and finally it devolves to, I was born this way, what's your excuse? Well, I used to be very easily irritated, and at times that can still be the case. And I visited a psychologist once upon a time who told me, you have low frustration tolerance. Boy, doesn't that sound a lot better than you have a short fuse? You have low frustration tolerance. And I got into an argument once with someone, and they finally said, what is wrong with you? And I said, I have low frustration tolerance. What's your excuse? Well, your nature is what you think and feel and believe and do. And you always have a choice of what to think, what to believe, what to feel, and what to do. Furthermore, here's something to think about this week. Bruce Lipton, in his wonderful book, The Biology of Belief, says that our belief, changing our belief, can literally change our DNA. What about fate? Maybe I'm in hell because it's my fate. What about fate and luck and the occult and Mercury is in retrograde? Now, Ernest Holmes, writing in the Science of Mind textbook, tells us, if one believes in fate, he must be healed of this thought, for there is no such thing as fate. If one believes that planetary forces have anything to do with life, he must be healed of this thought. Break down everything except the recognition of the one perfect power, which is not contingent upon any place, person, condition, time of year, or anything but itself. Maybe you're in hell because you got invited and you accepted the invitation. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, I think this is something that's very possible during a so-called recession. Have you ever been invited to bad economic times? If you get enough people talking down the economy, will bad times follow? Well, in the past few years, economists have teamed up with psychologists to study this idea. And their conclusion is that worry about an economic downturn may be enough to push a country into recession. After all, our economy is based on a monetary system which is largely imaginary. It's built on pieces of paper with a little bit of ink on them, and they have virtually no value at all, except for the value that we pretend they have. Now, once upon a time, these bills were promissory notes for gold or silver. You could go to the bank and exchange them for precious metals. Not anymore. They're just pieces of paper. And if we think times are good and money has value, the system works. If we think money is scarce or inflated or has little value, recession and even depression can set in. The economist John Maynard Keynes attributed the Great Depression of the 1930s to a bad attack of economic pessimism. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in his first inaugural address, famously talked about the impact fear has on the economy. He said that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Now, during that Great Depression, most people experienced hard times. But there were people who became wealthy during those years. They were the people who decided not to accept their invitation to a depression. They were surrounded by the fear and pessimism of the times, but they chose to believe in a higher truth, that the universe is a redundantly abundant system, and that there's more than enough for everyone, and that everyone has a right to that abundance, regardless of appearances? Do you allow others to put you into hell? Do you like to get party invitations? I think most of us do, but all too often we find ourselves invited to pity parties. And if we go, we're expected to join in and wallow in the misery. Do you get invited to organ recitals? You ever been in one of those? Oh, my gallbladder. Well, that's nothing. Let me tell you about my kidneys. Do you get invited to brawls? There's an old saying, you don't have to attend every argument to which you're invited. And that quote reminds us that we have choices about how we interact with people around us. Now, while this seems obvious, it's amazing how often we show up for the arguments to which we're invited, especially if the argument is about us. Many of us accept the invitation almost automatically. In other words, when someone invites us to an argument by criticizing some aspect of our lives, most of us find ourselves reacting in predictable ways. We fight back, defend ourselves, or withdraw, or become passive-aggressive, also known as the silent treatment. So often our arguments aren't even based on facts. They're based on false beliefs and imagined facts. The book of Proverbs tells us that any story sounds true until someone tells the other side and sets the record straight. So the process works like this. I don't have all the facts, so I jump to conclusions. I make assumptions, and then I decide these assumptions are accurate, and then my emotions form on the basis of those assumptions, not the truth. And that's a recipe for massive misunderstandings and hurt feelings. The truth is that arguments are almost always a waste of your time. They very seldom improve matters. Positivity and love are more likely to help us achieve our objectives than using up our energy on pointless disagreements. One of the real downsides of social media is that it's so easy to join an argument. And once you're in the argument, it's so easy to say something hurtful to someone that you'd never say if you were face to face. So the next time someone invites you to an argument, you might consider sending them a note saying, "Sorry, can't make it. I'm too busy enjoying life. Feel free to start without me." And a quick word about entities. We know that we are in full possession of spirit as an inner presence at all times, under all conditions. So there's no need to go to gurus to get out of hell, or to go to entities or anything or anyone which draws your focus outward, away from the I am. It's counterproductive. So don't allow your parents or your children or your significant others or in-laws or neighbors or even your minister tell you what to do. And certainly don't allow some far-off entity to tell you what to do. Your answers are always there within. The Persian mystic Rumi said, "The thing you're looking for is the thing you're looking with." And Jesus said it this way, "Not over here, not over there. The kingdom of heaven is within you." And St. Francis said, "What you're looking for is located where you're looking from." And writing in the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes said the same thing a little more poetically. "Know this, there is no power from without. Yourself must answer every fear and meet all doubt with some divine indwelling power, which you yourself upon yourself shall shower, and giving take, and taking give, unto that life which you yourself shall live." Every single day, we're invited to bad places. And sadly, The list of bad places is endless. And it's our job to stay out of those places. That ancient joke. A man coming into a doctor's office. Doctor, I broke my arm in 3 places. And the doctor says, stay out of those places. Put signs on those places. Signs that say, do not enter. You don't have to go there. But if you do go, you don't have to stay there. You can get out by changing your mind. And you can do that through your inner practice, through your prayer work, through your affirmations, through your meditations. Emmett Fox said, the moment you catch yourself thinking a negative thought, you should reject it instantly. Do not stop to say goodbye to the error, but immediately switch your attention to the presence. Stand in the holy place. The holy place is your consciousness. So don't linger around waiting to say goodbye to the negative thought. Reject it instantly. In other words, as Winston Churchill put it, if you're going through hell, keep going. Because with God, all things are possible. I like to say within God, all things are possible. Wayne Dyer said, here in awareness, all things are possible. All things, and that leaves nothing out. Our treatment work, spiritual mind treatment, also known as affirmative prayer, works by focusing our attention on the solution, which is the truth, not focusing on the problem. Don't waste your energy working on the problem. Work on yourself, not your problem. Because whatever it is that you need to get yourself out of hell, more of it is available than you'll ever get around to using. The Hebrew scriptures have a number of interesting names for God in addition to I am, and one of them in Hebrew is El Shaddai. El Shaddai, the God of more than enough. Not to be confused with El Cheapo, the God of barely getting by. Several years ago, Ernest Holmes wrote a wonderful book called It's Up to You. And here's one of the more interesting passages from that book. The subchapter heading for this little section is Man's Colossal Stupidity. A little inspirational thought for your week. He writes, it is not inconceivable that a few generations from now, historians may record this age as the period of man's greatest stupidity. In the midst of the greatest abundance the world has ever seen, we suffer and die because of lack. We choose blindness when we could have vision. We remain enmeshed in the throes of poverty when we could have wealth, riches inexhaustible. We accept the portion of sorrow when which negative thinking lays in our lap, when joy is our inheritance. We live in turmoil when we might have peace, the peace which passes understanding. And then he goes on to tell us why it's so important. I think each one of us is beholden to himself and to the world to live a normal, well-balanced, fruitful life, not sad or depressed, but demonstrating to the fullest our ability, love, and self-expression. The infinite is not limited. It has enough for all. So it is not selfish to demonstrate happiness, joy, harmony, peace, beauty, love, friendship, and right action. They already exist, and we must use them. We must look for the best and know that the best is going to come, and so reduce the number of future generations that shall call us stupid because our good was at hand and we failed to use it. Someone said, don't get stuck on stupid. In the late 1960s, at the height of the Vietnam War, there was a meme making the rounds. Sometimes you saw it on bumper stickers. What if they declared war and no one showed up? What if, indeed, you could apply that kind of thinking to a lot of things in life? What if they start an argument and you refuse to participate? What if they declare a recession and you refuse to cooperate? What if they announce an epidemic and you refuse to collaborate? What if they tell you who you should be, but you refuse to impersonate? What if they tell you who to hate, but you refuse to discriminate? What if the world is falling apart, but you refuse to disintegrate? What if everyone is heading for the hills, but you refuse to evacuate? What if everyone wants to aggravate, but you decide to accommodate? What if everyone wants to procrastinate, but you decide to accelerate? What if everyone wants to denigrate, but you decide to appreciate? Do you find yourself going to hell from time to time in spite of your best efforts? Well, hell is real, but it's only as real as you make it. And thank God you don't have to go there. So do yourself a favor and don't go there. But if you miss the mark and do go there, don't stick around and build a house. Get out as soon as you can. Unlike the Hotel California, you can always leave. The infinite power of the universe is waiting for you to decide to leave. And once you've made that decision, the universe will provide the ways and means to elevate you beyond whatever hell you've put yourself in. Always remember, whatever it is that you need to get yourself out of hell, more of it is available to you than you'll ever get around to using. Yes, hell is empty, and all the devils are here. But heaven is a choice. Heaven is now, and heaven is here, and heaven is full to overflowing with every good thing, because all of God is here. And so it is.